Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Putnam County Legislature. Tonight, June 7, 2022. If we could please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. And if Legislator Albano could lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please stand also for the legislative prayer and legislator sage, please.
Daily, we live side by side, sharing our community. We take each other for granted, living our lives, going through our days, seldom thinking of community, seldom stopping to think of the needs of our neighbors, caught up in living and providing for ourselves and family. Community is just there, we take it for granted, until disaster strikes, hardship comes, or weather rages. Then suddenly we desperately need our community. We need it to help us survive, to keep hope alive, to live. It is community that provides the essential safety net, protecting each of us in the face of loss and tragedy. It, our community, that brings us out the neighbor in us all. Today, I will do something to build my own community, making it stronger for all my neighbors and myself.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call, please.
District 1, Legislator Montgomery. Present. District 2, Legislator Goldman.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Adenizio. Present. District 4, Legislator Nasarino.
Present.
District 5, Legislator Albano.
Present.
District 6, Legislator Yonke.
Present.
District 7, Legislator Castellano.
Present.
District 8, Legislator Sage.
Present.
District 9, Chairman Sullivan.
Present. Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to proclamations. Our first proclamation is going to be honoring our Carmel High School senior football coach, Todd Kay. And I'm going to present Todd, and Todd's here with us tonight. So Todd, come on up. Please join us. Come on up. How are you?
Good.
Good. So as everyone knows, Todd has made Carmel and Putnam County very proud this year with the Carmel High School football team going all the way to the state championship, undefeated and winning it all. But more importantly, Todd was recognized as the New York State High School Football Coach of the Year, which is a huge award. And we are very proud of Todd and for everything he's done. He's a tremendous coach and leader and developer of our young men at Carmel High School. He really not only focuses on football, but focuses on making these young men leaders and teaches them about life and about life's lessons and how hard it is to work towards your goals. Football is one thing, but he teaches them much more than football. And we're extremely lucky to have him here. And I think he's going to continue next year.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We are. So we're so blessed to have Todd. He's been how many years now?
28 years.
28 years.
You're dating something.
And you know what? He's built the entire program from the ground up, starting at the smallest and youngest kids that play. And so by the time they get to Todd, they've been practicing and learning the same plays and programs and thought process, right? So by the time they get there, they are well honed and well schooled in what they're supposed to know and what they're supposed to do, right?
It's a pleasure serving the community. I mean, the prayer that she read really struck home to where, you just try to make an impact in your community. And we've had such great support from great coaches, parental support, administrative support, and great players. I mean, you need great kids.
Right.
You need great players. So it's been great. I've really enjoyed my time, and I look forward to next year also.
Well, as I said, we're very lucky to have you. So Todd, I'm going to present you with a proclamation from the county executive, Mary Ellen Odell, and myself and the legislature. I'm going to read it because it's important. So, whereas on December 4, 2021, for the first time in Carmel High School history, the Carmel High School varsity football team won the New York State Class AA title, closing out an undefeated season under the leadership of Coach Todd Kay. Whereas Coach Todd Kay has been involved with Carmel High School football since the mid-1990s and proudly holds a 170-81, one tie, record, which includes multiple trips to the New York State sectionals, semifinals, finals, and of course, the most recent 2021 New York State Championship. Whereas Coach Todd Kay has relied not only on teaching his players to play well on the field, but the importance of accountability, trust, respect, perseverance, both on and off the field. He also credits the unwavering community support as an important building block in the team's confidence, pride, success, and whereas this year Coach Todd Kay was named the Class AA New York State Football Coaches Association Coach of the Year after the team's historical win. Now therefore be it resolved that Putnam County Executive Mary Ellen Odell and the Putnam County Legislature do hereby congratulate Carmel High School varsity football coach Todd Kay on a well-deserved honor.
Thank
you very
Thank
much,
you very
Todd.
much.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thanks for everything.
I appreciate that.
Okay, have a good,
Thank you.
got it?
Yep.
All right, here, got it, let's take a picture.
Go Blue Devils.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Take
it.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next proclamation is for National Safe Boating Month, and Legislator Albano is going to present that.
I'll read the proclamation. Whereas recreation boating is fun and enjoyable sport while being an excellent source of relaxation. However, boating can be a risky sport if people are unprepared. Knowledge and skills are important in reducing human error and improving judgment when boating. If a person is aware of the risks, they are likely to take precautionary measures to protect themselves and their family and their friends. The United States Coast Guard, Putnam County Sheriff's Department, the Carmel Police Department has served the county providing boat education courses, making marine dealer visitations, conducting boat safety checks, and tending multi-mission patrols. Using their own boats and equipment, the Coast Guard Auxiliary has been able to reduce boating accidents and fatalities. These vital services offered by the Coast Guard Auxiliary, Putnam County Sheriff's Department, Carmel Police Department, Mayapack Fire Department, Mayapack Falls Fire Department, and the Carmel Fire Department work in conjunction with local enforcement, specifically the Carmel Department of Putnam County Sheriff's, to maintain safety on the water. As a result of this careful attention placing on boating, the waters of Putnam are made safer through spreading messages of boating safety, not only the National Safe Boating Month, but throughout the entire year. Now therefore be resolved, the Putnam County Executive and Putnam County Legislature do hereby support the goals of the National American Boating Campaign and proclaim June 2022 as National Safe Boating Month in Putnam County and the start of the year-round efforts to promote safe boating. This proclamation was here to give to Charlie and Hannah Melchner, who run a marina in Lake Mayapack. They're probably not here today because this is boating season, and I'm sure they're very busy. On a positive note, with my limited boating experience, when I was on the lake, probably twice running my own boat, we had a little mishap, hit a rock, pulled in, and my son decided to jump off the back of the boat onto the propeller. Fortunately, it could have been much worse, but the amazing thing is the Melchner family was unbelievable, fantastic. They came out and assisted us in every way they can, took care of everything, and put us on our way to run to the hospital for a couple stitches. So families like the Melchners do promote boating safety and do a fantastic job, and we should be very proud to have them as business owners of the town. And I'll get this to them probably tomorrow.
Great,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Legislator Albano. if I could just quickly move off the agenda, I'd like to welcome and introduce our 2 summer interns that we have with us this year. If you could please stand up, Tanya Ramirez and Eden Barone. Please stay up. Thank you. Welcome. We hope that your couple months with us this summer are educational and interesting, and that you get to work on some fun things and see what the legislature is all about. I know, Tanya, your major is political science, right? Eden, what's yours?
Political science and economics.
Oh, terrific. So this is right up your alley. So if you ever have any questions, or if there's anything we could ever do for you, please don't hesitate to give us a call. You can get our numbers from Diane. And if there's anything you'd like to do that you feel like you're missing maybe, just ask for it and we'll try to fill you in. Like go sit down with county clerk or the county executive or somebody else, the sheriff.
I have.
Yeah.
They work in our office.
I'll tell you.
Well, welcome, and I hope you have a nice summer with us. Thank you. Next on the agenda is item 4, which is the approval of the minutes from the special meeting on April 25th, 2022. So we're good. We don't need a motion for that. Correspondence from the county auditor is included in our pack, and there's nothing that we have to discuss there.
Chairman?
Yes,
In our
sir.
package also, we have 4.2,
No,
which is not on the agenda. It's
that
the
one's
minutes
second.
for May 3rd.
That one's,
I'm sorry.
that one's second.
What?
That one is not going to get approved this month.
Okay.
Okay, yep. Next, we'll move on to item 6, which is pre-filed resolutions. And we'll move on to the Personnel Committee and Chairman Yonke.
Thank you, Chairman Sullivan. On behalf of legislators Adenizio, Nasarino, and myself, I'd like to move forward with item 6A, which is the approval of a fund transfer for the probation department. It's a reorganization/reclassification. It's moving some positions around. It is in the amount of $36,253 with a fiscal impact of $5,425 for '22 and $5,835 for '23.
Any discussion? Being that there's no discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Item 6B is the approval of a funds transfer in the Sheriff's Department. It's part-time civil clerk. That's in the amount of $15,000 with no fiscal impact.
Any discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to table this. I listened to last month's Personnel Committee meeting, and I realized a lot of things that were cited during that meeting, including the 2018 operational audit, which pointed out the insufficiencies, which apparently justified the need for this position. We've never seen that audit. This legislature has never seen a 2018 operational audit. Other reasons cited for this, justifying this position, are post-COVID workflow, and most of all, training. So I asked during the Personnel Committee meeting, we already have 2 full-time clerks, and there's a need for training them. We do have a very qualified civil captain who could very easily train these clerks. There's lots of resources from the Sheriff's Association as well to train these clerks. What was also obvious to me in the personnel meeting was that it was quite a given that this is going to be asked for in the 2023 budget. You know, Legislator Albano even said in that committee meeting, we're going to appoint this position in the 2023 budget as well. So I don't see the need for this position, especially since we still do not have a civil sergeant's position. And I believe there's more of a need for boots on the ground, a civil sergeant to actually oversee what's out in the field. Again, the current captain in the civil division is qualified to train the current clerks. We took this position out in 2020 because of COVID, because we were worried about cost and you know, we had plenty of money for it. And it probably shouldn't have been taken out, but I still think the priority is the captain's position, especially in light of the need to have more boots on the ground, especially in light of there's obviously been a decrease and a cut in road patrol, and to have less and less people on the ground and to fund desk positions. This person's not going to be able to go out into the field and help our boots on the ground. So with that, I would like to table it and have further discussion.
So there's a motion on, sorry.
Just as a point of parliamentary
Yes.
procedure, if there's a motion to table, requires a second.
Right.
If there is a second, it's not debatable, it has to be voted on immediately. If there is no second, the motion fails.
Right. So I was going to ask if there's a motion for a second on Legislator Montgomery's item to table this. Is there a second? Being that there's no second, we will then go for any other discussion. Legislator Yonke?
Yeah, after listening to Legislator Montgomery, I just want to say that there's nobody better able to decide what the sheriff's department needs than our sheriff. Our sheriff was very clear about what he wanted in that department, how he wanted his people trained, and I think we should leave it to the sheriff who's elected to do that job to make these decisions. So I totally support this resolution.
Thank you, Legislator Yonke. Legislator Nasarino?
Yes, I was going to say the same thing that Legislator Yaki just said. The assessment of what is needed within the sheriff's department is under the purview of the sheriff, so let's keep it that way. I think that also, based on the recommendation, which we honor and respect of Captain Croce, this position is needed at this time because there's very limited knowledge of civil procedures with the current staff. So they need someone that's really trained and not saying that the people there cannot be trained, but someone to hit the ground running. And whether or not this becomes a full-time position in 2023 is not relevant to the consideration tonight. We'll discuss that during budget. And if it is, then so be it.
Thank you. Legislator Albano?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I agree with Legislators Jonke and Nasarino. I trust the sheriff's judgment, and I think he's the right person to make these decisions, so I support it.
Thank you. Legislator Sage?
I just want to point out that it was Captain Grossi who has a wealth of experience in the civil in Westchester County, who has requested this position as a temporary employee. And this particular employee has over 20 years of experience in civil enforcement procedures. When it comes to the captain and his department, I think he knows what he needs, and he's going to request that, and I see that the sheriff has backed him on this request, and I fully support this as well.
Thank you. Legislator Castellano?
Yeah, I just, in my day job, my 26 years in the court system down in Westchester, it's a very strange time for the courts because we were closed for a couple of years and now everything is coming up. All these, it's a lot of work for the civil department, and hiring someone to do some of this work would be important to let the police officers, the sheriff's deputies out there on the field. I think it's the right thing to do right now. The court system is trying to catch up after all the COVID layoff that we had, and it's a really busy time there, and I think this is the appropriate thing to do.
Thank you. I also, believe that Sheriff McConville knows his department best, and Captain Grossi also has a lot of experience in civil, and they know best what there is needed down there, and I am in complete support of this resolution tonight. So the motion by Legislator Montgomery has not received a second, so fail. So being that Legislator Montgomery, you have another comment you'd like to make?
Yes, I do. I mean, obviously, other legislators have more information than I do. They know who the person is and what
It's in
their,
your backup.
it's the name of the person is
On the back.
Okay,
In your
sorry, I
backup.
missed that. So, but my question now is, you know a lot about the person that is going to be taking this, and it's a recommendation of the captain. I understand that, respect that. I'm not trying to micromanage the sheriff. It's a different, obviously a different, different scenario than we were a year ago, where the sheriff had no purview over hiring people or what was right for his department, because there was many comments. And, my comments are not to say the sheriff doesn't know what he's doing, which is what you imply when you say, he has every right to. That's not where we were a year ago. Every bit of every move was analyzed and criticized. And it's my responsibility as a legislator to ask these questions. So other questions would be, did we seek, did other people have an opportunity? What is this person's training? Did other people have an opportunity to apply? Is he the most qualified? Still don't understand why the captain, who is fully qualified to train his staff at the civil division, can't train these people. Or better yet, if we insist on hiring this person, then let's contract him to train, to do the training that he needs to do, to get our people up to speed in the department and call it a day. We don't need to create a new hire, because I believe the county executive said no new hires in 2022. And here we are again, overriding that, which we always seem to do when it comes to certain departments and not others. So one, we have no new hires in 2022, we're hiring somebody. Two is, if it really is just for the training, let's contract someone to train like we do, like normal departments do, and call it a day.
Okay, I don't agree with a lot of the characterizations or your comments tonight, but that's not unusual. So with this, I'll make a motion to move forward. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Legislator Adnesio.
Yes.
Legislator Albano.
Yes.
Legislator Castellano.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Yonke.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
No.
Legislator Nasarino.
Yes.
Legislator Sage.
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Item 6C is the approval of a fund transfer for the Health Department. It's a reorganization, reclassification. It's, once again, moving some positions around. There's a decrease and an increase of the amount is $69,780. There's a fiscal impact, just so I'm clear, it's a $19,381 savings in '22, $32,397 savings in 2023.
Any discussion? Seeing that there's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 6D is the approval of the fund transfer, highways and facilities. It's personnel, it's a reclassification. It's in the amount of $71,663. In 2022, it will have zero fiscal impact, but in 2023, it will have a $5,844 impact.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we move on to Health, Social, and Educational Environmental Committee and Chairwoman Sage.
Thank you, Chairman. On behalf of legislators Adonisio and Yonke, I would like to bring forward agenda item 6E, is the approval of a budgetary amendment 22A035 for the Health Department to purchase compost bins for the recycling program. This is just using the revenues to purchase supplies and materials for the recycling bins.
Any discussion? Legislator Nasarino?
I just want to make mention that the bins in turn will be sold, so there will be no fiscal impact to the town, and it's a win-win all the way around.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing that there's no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we move on to rules, enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee and Chairwoman Adenizio.
Thank you, Chairman Sullivan. On behalf of legislators Nasarino, Sage, and myself, this is the approval appointments of Putnam County Board of Electrical Examiners. Resolved that the following be appointed to Putnam County Board of Electrical Examiners. Carlos Diarra, Town of Southeast, as PC Code Section 145-6, Master Electrician Representative, and Ronald Williams, Town of Carmel, as PC Code Section 145-6, also Master Electrician Representative. Resolved that these appointees comply with any requirements to file an oath of office pursuant to New York State Public Officers Law. I just want to thank them for coming forward and volunteering.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next is Protective Services Committee and Chairwoman Nasarino.
Thank you, Chairman Sullivan. On behalf of myself, legislators Sage and Sullivan, I would like to move forward with agenda item 6G, approval of budgetary amendment 22A-028, the Sheriff's Department Insurance Recovery. This is incoming money that was received, a supplemental check to cover the cost of additional damage that was discovered by Autocraft, a body shop. So there's no fiscal impact, and it's just incoming funding.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Item 6H is approval budgetary amendment 22A-030, Emergency Services Homeland Security. This is incoming money in the amount of $234,731 that was received from the State Homeland Security, for the State Homeland Security Program, FEMA, and this is have been appropriated in the various lines as per the Bureau of Emergency Services.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 6I is approval budgetary amendment 22A, Sheriff's Department State Municipal Facilities Program, SAM grant for license plate reader equipment. This is in the amount of $74,764,000. There's a resolution, just for clarity, there's a resolution that was filed in 2019, resolution 311, and it was approved. However, the funding became stagnant, and it was discovered by the Sheriff's Department, and Senator Hartman was instrumental in recovering the monies to bring us forward here tonight. So thank you to Senator Hartman and the Sheriff's Department for discovering that the money was not recovered back in 2019 and that we could use the money appropriately.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to the Physical Services Committee. Chairman Albano.
Thank you, Chairman Sullivan. On behalf of legislators Castellano, Blumen, and myself, I'd like to move 6J, approval of budgetary amendment 22A-036, Planning Department. This is Route 6, Farmington Road project. This was a project where, again, the senator brought us a grant for $1,085,000 for road improvements. Additional monies were needed, and through donation, we're going to be accepting this $244,617. This was a major improvement to an excellent piece of property, an excellent section of road leaving Putnam County, going towards Connecticut. And it's going to allow for some future growth in that area, which again will help us with sales tax.
Any discussion? Legislator Yonke?
Yeah, thanks to Legislator Albano for working on this. We just had a grand opening 2 weeks ago of the Restaurant Depot along this corridor, which is a great example of what we can do with that Route 6 area.
Anyone else? in favor?
Aye.
6K, approval of fund transfer 22T090, Highways and Facilities, Machine Maintenance Department of Health Water Supply Testing. This is in the amount of $50,000, and the fiscal impact is $50,000, and it will be $50,000 next year. We have many facilities that require that we do extensive testing, and it was in our best interest to hire someone to assist us with that, to make sure that the water, we know exactly what we're doing with regard to the water quality in our different buildings.
Any discussion?
I just have a question. If we see certain buildings pointed out and then it says various, we have Tilly Foster Farm, and then we have the golf course that we know need to be tested, and then it just says various county facilities. Can we get that identified and pointed out? You know, if we have a problem with the water at the golf course and Tilly Foster Farm, that just adds more and more to funding the park, the golf course and Tilly Foster, and not funding other things that are essential.
Just to speak to that, I mean, water quality is, it's imperative that we make sure that drinking water is correct. And it's anywhere that there is an issue, there's a solution, and it will be addressed. So that's just something we do for the public, for all of our facilities.
Thank you. Anyone else? Legislator Sage?
I think when John Kelly came to the Physical Services meeting, he did discuss that they do water quality tests at all the facilities in Putnam County, that they're required to take tests. It's not just these specific venues, but all of the venues in Putnam County. And for it takes a lot of time, and it's almost a full-time job just to test the water at all the county facilities. And you can tell by the amount of employees that we have to keep testing, especially at venues that host the public. So I think it's important. And they're all public buildings. I mean, all of our buildings are public. I mean, it's the people's buildings, so we have to keep it tested, know what the water quality is.
Anyone else?
This is being required by the state, right? This is being required by the state or the federal government?
That was a quick fix.
Someone from above, but I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the answer, but again, a lot of places in Putnam County have water quality issues. We ran into things in Mayapack with different dry cleaning fluids, gas stations. The bottom line is water should be tested, regardless of who mandates it. It should be tested and should be addressed if there's an issue. And then we're making sure we take care of that.
I would like to just
To answer
mention,
that question, it is, if you turn the page over on the back, it says the Department of Health is required.
Makes sense.
Budgetary amendment to fund the Department of Health required water supply testing at various county facilities.
Put that in my hand up for.
well, no, everybody's got a turn.
Yeah.
Legislator Sage.
But just clarify.
And now it's my turn. Putnam County, although we're surrounded by a lot of reservoirs and very fine water, a lot of the residential wells in Putnam County are, the water quality is very, very mineral rich and very hard and requires a lot of testing because it is that kind of water. It's not pristine coming out of the ground. And as Legislator Sage mentioned, I think it's done at all our facilities just as a regular course of business. So I don't see any particular reason why we're addressing or focusing just on, again, the golf course at Tilly Foster, other than that it's probably their time and they're bigger facilities and require additional funds to have that work done. Legislator Montgomery.
So if that's the case, can we correct the resolution to say all county facilities rather than various county facilities? Because that's my basic question. I understand all that happens with water. Believe me, I come from a place in government where we had to spend hundreds of thousands for one particular district in trucking and water and testing and creating a new water district. I know how these things work. But if we're doing various county facilities, facilities I would like to know. And obviously, I don't want to see a ton more money dumped into Tilly Foster and the golf course. And if we have to dump more money into the Tilly Foster and golf course, we need to revisit Tilly Foster and the golf course. That's my question, if it's all facilities, or if we can correct this resolution to say all facilities and not various.
Legislator Albano.
I would just say various facilities, those that are deemed that we should be testing. There may be some facilities that don't require testing, I don't know. The very fact that we say various facilities means we're testing them. To bring the golf course or the Tilly Foster Farm out, those are our biggest draws for the public. Okay, I would think it's imperative. And we're not talking about what it costs to correct the situation, if there even was one that exists. We're just saying test the water, and then we can make intelligent decisions what we should do should there be an issue. We're not even aware if there is issues at those particular sites. But we have great water quality in Putnam County, but of course, like every other town, there's surprises and issues here and there. There's salt issues in some areas, just a lot of different things. It's prudent and it's intelligent to test water and make sure.
I'm not questioning testing water.
It might not have to be every facility, so it's the way they
Well,
wrote it.
legislator Sage said it was every facility, so I just
Okay.
want clarification.
Sorry, Legislator Nasarino.
Thank you. I would support keeping it various county facilities. That's how it's proposed. We don't know what there's an alternating time schedule and how they do that, but the water is not potable in a lot of county office buildings, so we're here also to protect our employees, but the venues of Tilly Foster and Putnam Golf Course are frequented by the public, and we certainly have to ensure that that water quality is tested often and tested if there's events going on at these various facilities. I know the transportation department, we go in there, there's signs out, the water's not potable, we can't drink the water. That's very commonplace within Putnam County office buildings, and I don't know why, we have to belabor this whole discussion.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm sure something has to, whether it's on a well or whether it's on town water too, I'm sure comes into the equation, right? So, Legislator Sage, you want to say
Well,
something
just to point out that it is broken down into Tilly Foster, it's broken down into parks, it's broken down into the golf course. And then last is just a catch-all, various county facilities. That's why it says various, because there are 3 specific categories. So
Okay.
it's just making it more specific. It's all water testing. It's just a breakdown of where they're going to go.
Thank you.
And I let you know where they're going to go.
Yes.
Right, at this particular time, it could be just a slate of what they deem to test at this particular time. Not saying that they're not all going to be tested, not saying, but we don't need to include all. I'm sure they designated what their schedule is for the upcoming schedule.
Thank you.
We should take, excuse me, I didn't raise my
Yes.
hand. Nobody else raised their hand, but I did. Through the chair, maybe we should take this into consideration when we're taking a look at the leases we have for Tilly Foster. And that's another added expense that we have that we take on, and maybe we should take a look at that when we're negotiating rents. I would like to factor that into the rent as well as the electric we pay, and things like that for Tilly Foster. Maybe we can take the cash that we get from the events that we collect for parking, because nobody knows where that goes, and maybe we could use it to pay for this.
Thank you. Just to clarify, everybody does raise their hand. They give me a little hand, they give me a finger, they give me lots of things. So just because it depends on, I get a little pen, but everybody lets me know they want to speak. That's all I know. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
6L is approval of highways and facilities use of capital reserve amend 19CP 06. This is for hiring professional architecture service, engineering service. I believe we exceeded the $100,000 that was already funded, and we're going to need another $30,000 to complete what's necessary. So total project cost not to exceed $130,000. Which is $30,000 more than anticipated.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6M is approval highways and facilities use of the capital reserve, amend 19 CP 9. This is roof replacement at 3 county facilities. Issues came up at 3 different locations, and we think this is the right time to address them. And so we're bringing this to $164,000, project cost not to exceed.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
6O is an approval of a resolution authorizing the lease agreement for the new special victim
Wait,
unit.
Susan, then we skip N. 6A.
Okay. Flooring repair, thank you. Approval for highways and facilities, use of capital reserve, 22CP01. This is for flooring repair and replacement, again, at various county facilities. Some of our locations, the rugs are in desperate need of being replaced, and this is a good time to address that.
Very good. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Project not to exceed $120,000. 6O is approval resolution authorizing the lease for a new special victim unit facility, 20 Fair Street in Carmel. This is known as the White Building. It's an ideal location for this type of service, and it will work well for the sheriff and victims, because it's a private setting, good location for everyone to get to.
Any discussion? Legislator Nasarino?
Yes, I would just like to commend the Sheriff's Department and the Putnam North and Westchester Women's Resource Center to create an environment where victims of sexual crimes feel comfortable and their families feel comfortable, and that environment, after having such traumatic crimes that may have incurred, to have a safe haven and have an environment that is comfortable for them really is wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Yonke?
Thank you. I would like to thank the sheriff. When we first heard about this, I asked the sheriff to review an alternate location that's owned by the county so that we wouldn't have to rent. He took the time to meet with our highway staff, reviewed, found that it was not a feasible location, but I do want to say thank you that you went out there and tried to make us a landlord rather than a renter.
Anyone
Just like
else?
to add that this is a
Yes.
5-year lease, and it's $145,880 for the 5 years, and there's no match from the county, no county match, so it's
Outside,
right outside.
outside source. Great. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would just like to
Legislator
also
Nunzio?
I'd like to also thank the sheriff, and this is absolutely needed here in Putnam County, so thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing that there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
6P is ratification sale of Clarkson Road property, Town of Kent, known as tax map number 33.25-1-13, to the contiguous owner pursuant to Chapter 31 of the Putnam County Code. This is land that was taken back for taxes that is not buildable, so for all purposes probably would be of no interest to anyone except the neighbor. And they'll go back on the tax roll and connect to the neighbor's house. Pretty routine, what we've gone through before.
That's right. Any, Legislator Yonke?
Yeah, just real quick, it's great where we have these substandard lots that end up in tax sales. They have no value to anybody other than a contiguous property owner. This will be merged with the property owner's existing property and will disappear, and we'll never have a headache here again. So it's a good move.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6Q is approval, the implementation of funding in the first instance, 100% of the federal aid and state Marshall program eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project and appropriating funds thereof. This is a bridge on Drewville Road that's in desperate need to be replaced. Our facilities did a great job in putting a Band-Aid on it to make it work and make it safe, but we're at a point now where we really have to do what's necessary. The total cost, I think, is $609,000. We previously authorized $485,000, so at this point, we're looking for another $124,000 to keep this moving in the right direction and get the bridge replaced.
Any discussion? Being that there's none, all in favor? Aye.
6R is approval Putnam County Legislature intend to act as lead agency under the SECRET. This is regarding a wireless communication facility at 187 Hill Street, Mayapack, which is basically the golf course. And we will act as lead agency with regard to the SECRET project.
Any discussion? Being that there's none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6S is approval resolution authorizing communication tower lease space agreement. Putnam Valley Tax Map Number 84-2-48-1, known as Piano Mountain. This is one of our better leases with a zero cost. It's part of having all our towers operate in a better function, and it's necessary to keep Putnam County up to where it should be as far as communications for all first responders and emergency services. Great lease, zero cost.
Any discussion? Being that there's none, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we'll move on to audit and administration, and Chairman Castellano.
Thank you, Chairman Sullivan. On behalf of legislators Albano and Goulman, I'd like to move forward the following. Item 6T is the approval of the budgetary transfer for the Sheriff's Department, moving money out of sub-contingency to purchase tasers and body-worn cameras for the Sheriff's Department. This is in the amount of $181,000 this year. We've discussed this at length over the years, and the Putnam County Sheriff, along with the unions, have come together with an agreement on a proper procedure, and we'd like to move this money out of sub-contingency to put it to good use.
Thank you. Any discussion? Legislator Yonke.
Yeah, I'd like to point out, I think there's a typo here in the resolution. It says Axon lasers and body-worn cameras. I think we're talking about tasers, right?
Yeah, we're talking about tasers.
I'd love to give the sheriff some lasers.
Is that futuristic?
It's right on the agenda.
How about lightsabers?
Axon lasers.
Lifesavers.
Correct.
Lightsabers.
Well, we are talking about tasers. So.
Tasers. Okay.
Just for clarification, thank you.
May the force be with you.
Any discussion?
I just clarified, I think the sheriff mentioned it in committee, and Legislator Yonke, we do have PBA approval, but PBA is agreeing to this. I'm all for this. I think it's great that we have the, this is part of the policy that we've implemented, and I think it's great we're moving forward with that. And just my only question is, we're clear that we had PBA approval. They're agreeing to this, yes?
That's what was discussed in committee.
Yes, we do. Okay.
Great. Anyone else? Being that there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 6U is the approval of the semi-annual mortgage tax report from October 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2022. This is money that's collected by the Putnam County Clerk mortgage tax that is collected for properties amongst the six towns and the 3 villages. And twice a year, the county clerk and commissioner of finance come to us so we could return the money to the proper towns. This 6-month period was exceptionally high in mortgages that were taken out and some tax revenue that were collected during the process. We have a total of $3,794,722.45, and we're returning the money to the local municipalities, including the 6 towns and 3 villages. We'll get a check cut shortly from the Commissioner of Finance if this is approved by us tonight.
Any discussion? Okay, being that there's none, all in favor?
Aye.
6D is the approval of finance real property write-off of delinquent real property taxes, Carmel tax map parcel 64.7-1-31. As discussed in committee, we're going to relieve them of the tax debt that was due, and this property will be free and clear back.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And finally, 6W is the approval of a grant application for the Sheriff's Department. This is the state municipal Facilities Grant Program. This is an application that came in front of us to apply for $50,000. And if the legislature does decide to, we can move ahead with the application process.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7 is other business. Anyone have any other business they'd like to discuss tonight? Being that there's none, we'll move on to recognition of the public on agenda items. Is there any public that would like to speak to any agenda items tonight? Being that there's nobody here from the public, move on to 9, which is recognition of legislators. Legislator Albano.
Legislator Jonke mentioned the Restaurant Depot opened the other day. Amazing facility. It's just great to see stuff happening in Putnam and not just over the line next door. Fantastic building, great project. It was nice the senator stepped in, the county, just everybody working together to get something done that will affect everyone. Sales tax and, like I said, great business.
Yep, great store, great revenue source for sales tax and providing services that we don't have. Legislator Nasarino.
I would just like to congratulate the class of 2022, all those that are graduating this June on every level of education from preschool all the way on up. And I would also like to wish all the dads a very happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Legislator Yonke.
Thank you. I'd like to call everybody's attention to the Town of Southeast July 3rd fireworks event. We're going to have a great time up on Independence Way, the Home Depot Shopping Center. Please come out on July 3rd to celebrate our independence. We're still hoping, there's still time to help sponsor the event. We do have a social media page on Facebook. And I'd also like to wish my neighbor and someone I admire very much happy 97th birthday to Willis Stevens Sr. He's 97 today. He's our former assemblyman. He's somebody I've looked up to for about 30 years. I've known him a little over 30 years, and happy birthday, Will.
Nice. Anyone else? Legislator Montgomery.
There was a point I wanted to make during the discussion that I didn't, and I wanted to make it now too, because I've been asking for this Bonadeo report, and it would have gone a long way in the civil clerk's discussion, because the Bonadeo report, as you know, was a $45,000 report that we commissioned to take a look at, the sustainability of the Sheriff's Department and staffing, and we still don't have it. And I did request, actually, twice, quite recently, to have a representative from the Bonadeo group come to a meeting, because that's just common practice. You spend $45,000 on a report, you should have a representative from that group. And I didn't get an answer from the chairperson of the Protective Services Committee, and I would still like to see that, especially in light of today's headlines. And I think, we as a legislative body did not recognize what happened in Texas, and I would like to recognize that now. And today's headline in the local paper says, local GOP blasts new gun laws. Locally and nationwide, these members continue to insist that mental illness is the cause of mass shootings. I've been asking for additional funding for mental health, and I've pointed out that the Putnam County Executive and the legislature has failed to increase, with any significant meaning, funding for mental health. In fact, they decreased funding in 2021. So we refuse to fund basic mental health resources, and we continue to see these tragedies, and we continue to blame these tragedies on mental health. So there's no words left here. There's no hope. There's no hope for this county responding to this crisis, not after 19 kids are slaughtered at Robb Elementary School, and all our leaders can do is blame mental health. So after Sandy Hook, it seemed that we kind of stuck together. I wasn't here on this legislature, but I was responding. I went to Sandy Hook shortly after, and I felt like our whole community in Putnam did respond. And I went myself to Sandy Hook with some hope. We grieved and we grieved for families, and we lived in fear of sending our kids to school, and we responded as a county, and we tried to make our schools safer by providing resources. But instead of doing this after Texas, we jumped to condemning legislation that would keep our communities safer and blaming it all on mental health. So I ask, where were we between the years of Sandy Hook and Robb Elementary? We certainly were not establishing mental health resources for our community. I was, and I was trying to hear, and you've denied my request to do so. So now with 19 more children slaughtered and the cry for mental health, I ask, where are the tablets that we were going to get for the Sheriff's Department that would have access, give us access to mental health resources? We were supposed to see them in February, I thought. And if it's really mental health and not guns, let's decide this month in our committee meetings to write a check to Cove Care to give them more funding. Let's write that check to Phillipstown Behavioral Health Hub that I've asked for over and over again. Let's give more money to MHA. And let's take the lead here and ask social services to hire more mental health professionals and give those overworked workers, caseworkers, a break. So that's not all I wanted to say tonight, because this is an important month, and we just spent last weekend and yesterday celebrating Memorial Day and recognizing the 77th anniversary of D-Day, the beginning of the end of World War II. And with each passing year, as time moves on, we lose more and more veterans who served during World War II, as well as their siblings, spouses, and their children, increasingly their children. And part of keeping their legacy alive is not just through the stories and mementos of individual veterans, but through our own collective communal commitment to defending their very mission itself, and through the 4 freedoms articulated by President Roosevelt, which so many of our brave servicemen fought to protect: freedom of speech, freedom of worship, and freedom from want, and freedom from fear. So at a time when our democracy is often in question, and patriotism is seen as both suspicious and sentimental, and when so many so-called leaders in our country would rather selfishly benefit from gridlock, obstruction, and polarizing rhetoric than work toward compromise, common sense, and good government, there's no more powerful symbol in our recent history than the selfless sacrifices demonstrated by the World War II generation in their pursuit of freedom for everybody in the world. And that brings me to June and our celebration of Pride Month. It's important to recognize that while we are celebrating our LGBTQIA+ colleagues, neighbors, and family members, we aren't turning off or selfishly shifting away from our support of active duty service members and veterans, because these communities are not exclusive or mutually exclusive from regular veterans. We are all too familiar with discriminatory practices and policies that prevented gay, lesbian, and transgender members of the military from serving openly. It's estimated that as many as 100,000 veterans were forced out of the military, exclusively based on their sexuality, until Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed by President Obama in 2011, while transgender service members were further banned from serving until 2016, and again from 2019 until 2021. Despite these policies, the VA estimates that there are now over 1 million LGBTQIA+ veterans in America, of all ages. In addition, nearly 80,000 self-identifying LGBTQIA individuals currently serving in the military. Further, the National LGBTQ Task Force found that 20% of transgender Americans have had some military experience, making them twice as likely as the general population to have served our country. And that's something to be proud of. But yet, we know that nationwide, economic hardship and mental health are common among active duty personnel after they return home from deployments, and among veterans after they retire from service. Sadly, those rates are even higher among LGBTQIA+ veterans. These veterans are twice as likely to receive unemployment benefits and twice as likely to receive SNAP benefits. And they are 5 times more likely to receive diagnosis of PTSD. And the legacy of policies such as Don't Ask, Don't Tell continue to hamper the stability and mobility of these veterans and their families. In 2021, President Biden announced new VA policy, which would allow service members who were discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell to receive the benefits which they are entitled. The VA is actively reaching out to organizations to work with and represent LGBTQIA members and veterans to make sure they are aware of these services and they are entitled to them, and expanding the scope of services. So I hope that our Veterans Department and our veterans representatives will do the same in helping those that were discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, get access to benefits that they deserve. And I hope that we as a legislature can make a point of that. Thank you.
Anyone else? I would like to mention and remind everyone that on June 1st, the sales tax abatement law went into effect for gasoline. We approved it and the county executive signed it, so we should be seeing a reduction in gas prices. The state also reduced their sales tax, so we capped it at taxing only over $2 a gallon. I mean, up to $2 a gallon, which is 8 cents. And then the state also reduced their taxes up to 16 cents. So hoping that we see at our local gas stations a reduction in the price per gallon to reflect what we were trying to accomplish there, and that is to give the consumer a bit of release at the gas pump. So keep your eyes open. I know there's an article today in the paper that is watching them. I know our Department of Consumer Affairs is monitoring it. So I think it's just a matter of getting the word out to the gas stations so that they know that in fact these lowering of sales tax has taken place, and we'll see it at the pumps. I also would like to, I know with the ARPA money we are addressing mental health as we discussed with Commissioner Piazza, and taking over the section of the hospital, hopefully, to really invest a lot of money towards mental health. And we're all aware of the problems, and we're working on it, and look forward to seeing that the next few weeks, where we approve that money to provide those services to our community for mental health. And I'd like to turn it over to Legislator Sage.
I just wanted to thank the sheriffs and the Sheriff's Department for protecting our children. The SRO, the SPO departments. We have a robust program here in Putnam County. We have very competent officers sitting in front of every school building. And I'd like to thank our school boards for making that commitment and for hiring these competent law enforcement officials at our buildings with our children. I know when my children were in those buildings, I felt really safe about it, and I've had many conversations with the ones in my children's school, and they're very confident, and I just like to thank the Sheriff's Department and the school districts for supporting this in our schools. And I agree that mental health is very important. It's a multi-pronged approach. I'm just sick and sad to my core about children being harmed and hurt. And I think in Putnam County, I think we do everything that we can to protect our children.
Thank you. Being that there's no further discussion or comments, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Next week.